On episode 379 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet Brenda Shaeffer and discuss her book, Aligned for Success. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/379. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Have you had a chance to book your free consult? Yes, I'm offering a free 15-minute health and fitness consult where we can go over your health and fitness goals and get you started the right way. Let's make this summer wonderful. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/consult. You can book your free, no obligation 15-minute consult. I want to help you reach your health and fitness goals, and I do believe just us sitting down on the phone for just 15 minutes can make all the difference. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/consult and book your free 15-minute consultation today. Our guest today has been a licensed physical therapist since 1978. She has a doctorate in physical therapy from Simmons College, a bachelor's of science from Cleveland State University, and attended The Ohio State University and Mary Washington College. She has been in private practice since 1981 and has been an innovator in the physical therapy field for treatment approaches. With no further ado, here's Dr. Brenda Shaeffer. Brenda, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you, Alan.
I have a specialty in corrective exercise, and I see it myself. Someone will walk in and they'll start to lift, and I'll be like, no, let's do this. And I realize, okay, you can't lift weights right now. You need to get yourself fixed first, because if you try to put load on the body and the frame the way you're doing things today, you're going to break yourself. So I always go through with my one-on-one clients this evaluation just to see if there's any movement. I talk to them about any injuries they've had. But you put together a book that pretty much will allow a lot of us to do that for ourselves.
That's right. And really, over the many years that I've been a physical therapist, what I realized is that people actually limit themselves a lot more than they need to. And with our medical system, the way it's become over the years that I've been practicing, which is over 40 years, what's happened is people have become defined by the diagnosis that they receive in their doctor's office or as they've self-diagnosed on the internet, and they've actually become very disabled. So I became very inspired by that and actually put together this book and actually have also developed a system of education that people can actually look at and learn to assess themselves and start doing corrections on their own in everyday activities and apply it to their everyday activities to actually do more than they expect they should be able to do. This is thank you to many of our good researchers and the technology available today that is proving what pain is and how our brain processes pain and actually how we move, and also how the most common pain problems have happened in our muscles and bones.
Yeah, I'm really good about focusing on form while I'm doing the work. But in your book, Aligned for Success, I kind of came up with this epiphany, and I should have thought of this a long time ago. I was actually doing CrossFit, and I was traveling, so I was at a CrossFit that I wasn't familiar with, and the instructor came up to me and said, because we were doing one-arm kettlebell thrusts. And so it's where you kind of squat down with the kettlebell by your side, and you've only got one in one hand, and you basically do a squat, and when you come up, you thrust the kettlebell up in the air. When I was doing these thrusts, he said to me, do you cross your right leg over your left leg pretty regularly? And I said, I do that when I sleep. I said, my right leg actually goes behind and under my knee so I don't hyperextend my left knee. But I had never really experienced any pain. But that was kind of one of my original epiphanies. And then seeing it in your book was just everyday normal things that we do can really affect the way our body moves. And then therefore, later on, particularly if we put ourselves under load, we hurt ourselves and we feel pain.
That's exactly right. And really, again, the research that's now available, and again, thank you to the new technology that's available to measure how our brain is perceiving the inherent danger signals. What's going on is that what's most important for us as individuals to understand is that we need to be much more aware of what our alignment is, or in other words, relative alignment of our legs, our core, and our arms are during our everyday activity. That's actually as important, or in my view, more important than when we're in the gym, when we're much more attentive to what our form is, because that's where we're really in static positions where we're not getting as much circulation through our joints and through our muscles and our fascia. And that's really where we're losing the battle and where we're creating the setup to have failures in our tissues. And that's where we're creating the problems that then we have failures in the gym. So that's kind of the message which we're looking at, trying to teach people. And again, the body reset system, which is sort of the situational applications of how to learn how to use our bodies with proper alignment, that the Align for Success book was a platform for, that we've just launched, is actually going to show people how to keep in proper alignment in everyday activities, from texting, sitting around using your computer at home in a comfy chair. It shows you that you can be in proper alignment in everything that you do, and that it's really, once you learn a very easy 3-step method on how to look at yourself and make sure you're aligned from the ground up, from your feet, your shins, your thighs, through your core and your arms, and then make sure you're supported in all of those parts of your body, that you can sustain the best circulation and not have compression. In other words, have best health in both your structure, your circulation, your hydration, nutrition system, and also your electrical system, which are the 3 parts of your body. You can have best health so that you can expect to have the best fitness level of your body at any stage, any age of your life.
Now, one of the things you said there that I think is really important for someone to understand, because a lot of people don't get this. They'll say, "Well, I feel pain in my hip," or "I
Mm-hmm.
feel pain in my neck,"
Yes.
but it starts at the feet.
Absolutely. You have 26 bones in your feet. And really, you have to understand that unless you're in a very specialized job, or, you're a circus performer or something like that, most of us literally are always engaging with our bodies to move forward. We're doing things with our feet first. And so when we're getting up to move, we're engaging with the ground first from our feet. So it's a chain reaction. Think of a domino effect. When you first hit the ground, the first thing that hits the ground is your foot, and then the chain reaction happens. The fancy word is kinetic, which means movement. The movement chain that happens is the first bone hits the floor, and then the next bone has to react to that, and then it moves all the way up. So if one bone's not in the right order, the next bone's going to have to react to that. But it's all little sensors that are embedded in the ends of each bone. It's embedded in the ligaments, the tendons, the fascia everyone's heard about, which is just this sort of a saran wrap type tissue that's around every structure, meaning when we're talking about muscles and bones and things, it's around the tendons, it's around muscles, it's around nerves. That's also embedded in little sensors that tell length, things are stretching too far. And it tells the brain that there may be danger if it's stretched too far or there's too many toxins. In other words, there's a chain reaction of alert systems of information that go to and from your brain, so the brain can make adjustments as needed. But at any rate, there is a chain reaction that starts at your feet, and then your brain's adjusting muscles, circulation, and so forth as that chain reaction happens, but it happens at your foot. So by the time it gets up to your hip, there's an adjustment. If your hip has to be adjusted significantly, by the time it gets to your neck, there's even more significant adjustment. So you really need to make sure from the foot you have the best alignment possible. And if it's not there, then your neck will have to have an adjustment also. Very often people say, well, I just need you to look at my neck because I just hold my stress in my neck. And I'll often say, well, actually what you're doing is you're holding your foot up from your neck. So it really needs to be systematically a very, very much of a system that you're looking at yourself from the ground up. Are you in the best alignment? Again, to ensure that the information that gets to and from your brain and your nerves, your arteries and veins have the best position, and they're free from compression and also from overstretching. So all that information and all the circulation, hydration, nutrition, and also the trash gets out back from your veins, get back in through your core to be processed. So all the systems of your body can be in their optimal function. And again, so you can have the best health possible, again, at any stage, any age of your life.
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, in general, as I looked at kinetic chain and I was getting kind of educating myself on this topic, and then I saw it again in your book, was I have an injury to my right ankle when I was 29.
Mhm.
Okay, so long time ago. It doesn't affect me in day to day life, but if I try to do a squat because my ankle is not functioning the way that it should, it's slightly tighter. My right ankle is slightly tighter than it should be. Now my calves will compensate for that.
Correct.
So my calves get tight. Since my calves are tight, they're not allowing my leg to move the way that it needs to, which means my hips have to move differently.
Mhm.
And then I end up leaning forward on a squat and I have difficulty getting to proper depth on a squat.
Mhm.
So what I end up doing is I end up spending some time before I'm going to do squats to really focus on loosening up my calves
Mhm.
and getting my ankle as mobile as it will be under the circumstances. And then I'm able to safely do the work. A lot of people would go at this because if they start to feel pain, there's going to be this element of fear, and then they're going to move differently.
Correct. And this is, again, this has been a long held misunderstanding about flexibility. I think one of the misunderstandings about flexibility, and this is coming from the world of training and physical therapy, particularly, is we, I think, in this field, made people believe that flexibility is actually more of an exercise, where flexibility is actually simply a measurement of how much mobility or how much motion we have at each one of the junctures of one bone to the next. And that's actually called a joint. And in your case, if you actually had an injury to your ankle where you maybe never get full range of motion there, or it's a difficult place to get range of motion or mobility, the concepts of, again, thinking in threes, which is, again, a concept that I introduced in the book. One of the three things we think about is always having readiness before you do any of your activities. And in your case, where you think about, well, I really need to get the mobility that I need before I do activity, you need to spend a little extra time and make sure you get that mobility with a little extra time and say, well, how much do I need to do my correct range of motion? And instead of being fearful of it and saying, well, I have pain, remember pain's a positive alarm to make you pay attention and understand that tightness is even the warning sign before pain almost all of the time. You know what the injury was, so your expectation should be, oh, well, then I can expect that to be tight. And I'm thinking, instead of thinking, well, I just need to stretch that, just know, well, if I just do a little bit of an active release, kind of 1 second on of a little teeny bit of a stretch and a little bit off, another second on, a little bit off, a little second on, you'll notice that your brain says, okay, well, I understand, Alan, that I just need to let you move a little bit and it'll release. And pretty soon you'll have enough mobility. There's no reason to be fearful when you understand that that tightness was just a little bit of a warning. If you didn't take that warning, you'll get a little pain. And then your brain will understand that it's safe to move. It's just it's new science that we know that that's what this means.
And that self awareness is really critical. When someone goes into a chiropractor because their shoulder hurts or their neck hurts, just kind of paying attention to the way you move and what's going on with your body. Now, you have this 3-step method
Mhm.
that allows someone to kind of do that kind of self awareness assessment.
It does, right. And actually have a what's called a flexibility. I still use that word because people tend to like it. It's actually a mobility checklist where really from the bottom up, I'm using sort of a general checklist and can get more specified. And the book is actually, an introduction to for a general, again, the question that I think we've all missed in the past is how much flexibility do we need or mobility for general activities? And the question is, how much mobility do you need? And then I know we'll talk about this possibly in a minute is what are your goals? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to be a gymnast, or are we trying to be a Cirque du Soleil performer, or are we just trying to go out for a walk?
Yeah. Or
If you're
walk down
just
the stairs without pain. Yeah.
exactly. What are our goals? But say if you're just going to get through a day and just, go to the grocery store and make dinner and take care of your kids, you don't need, a whole heck of a lot of mobility. So what I've introduced in Align for Success, my book, is just a general mobility check for everyday living. Just get through your day and mow the lawn and go to the grocery store and maybe go for a bike ride. But it's a mobility check that checks to make sure that you have enough mobility for walking and picking things up off the floor and reaching overhead to get things out of your closets to fix dinner and load the dishwasher and so forth. But it's checking for side to side mobility of your legs, of all the joints, and how much mobility you have to go down and reach down and get things off the floor and look overhead and reach behind your head and reach up your back. But it's looking for a sequence of motion, and that's also been missed. And secondly, can you do that motion with the speed, force, and finally the endurance that you need to move it? But within that, we're also looking for, can you attain and maintain the proper alignment of all three parts of the skeleton structure that we have? And when we're looking at the skeleton part of your structure, there's also three parts. It's your legs, and then your core, which includes the three parts of your pelvis. It includes the actual core, which is the lumbar and thoracic spine, which literally have almost no movement. And then finally, the top part of your core, which is also three parts. It's your two sides of your rib cage and your breastbone. And finally, the parts of your arms that you then have your hands hooked on the end, which have three parts, which are your arms, your shoulder blades, and finally your collarbones. And again, it's looking, can you maintain proper alignment? And the method teaches you how to use your own hands to consistently and become confident and competent in being able to look and see if you can attain and maintain your alignment in both still positions, in other words, still postures, and also in basic movement patterns.
Yeah, one example I really like from the book that I think will give someone a really good visual of this is you have someone sitting basically with their feet on the floor. They've got what you kind of call the 3 points of contact, effectively,
Right.
their butt and their feet. They're sitting comfortably. Their arms are at a comfortable distance, a little bit away from the body. And then you have them put their hands on their kneecap with their middle finger basically pointing down the shin bone.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that your third toe should line up with your middle finger.
Correct.
And so what this is saying is if your feet want to splay out for one reason or another, then you're going to have an improper movement form, and that's going to go all the way up the kinetic chain.
Right.
And so you can start training your brain to keep that foot where it's supposed to be, particularly starting originally when you're just sitting down. And that's going to make it more comfortable to walk. It's going to make it much more comfortable to run. And so a lot of the activities we want to do, we can start doing even static, just sitting. We can start assessing to see if there's these things that aren't moving in the way that they were functionally designed to move.
Well, and right away, people notice right away. I had a woman this week where she literally couldn't stand from her chair, and her husband was there to help her get up. She said, well, I just can't do it. I said, well, you know what? Here's what you do. Just if you're sitting there, and we'll just joke sometimes, say, there's that foot sticking out to the side again. If you put your middle finger right there in the center of your kneecap and it's aiming down, it's not aiming at the bottom of your third toe. Just lift the front of your foot up a little bit and move the front end a little bit. So now it's aiming at the center of your third toe. And I say, we're going to call him a name, whatever. It's some sort of crazy guy. He's moving back over there. And it's just your brain has had to adapt over time for whatever reason. At some point, maybe she had sprained her toe or maybe she had a broken ankle at some point. And your brain is designed to help you survive at some point just to keep you going. And if you don't reset your brain just continues to adapt. It's a positive thing. I've stopped using the word compensate because there's a lot of research behind it, but it's actually in the English language. The linguists have figured out that the C sound is actually a negative sound to your brain. And A sound is more positive. We need to be positive and talk about things in ways we know our brain responds better, and it'll help enhance improvement and pain recovery. But if we actually know that it's a good thing our brain has adapted, if it didn't adapt, by the time we're in our 40s, we'd be army crawling if we never got over things. I mean, it's really cool how we actually can recover. If we allow our bodies to heal, they'll heal. So if all we have to do is lift our foot up, and that makes our three parts of our leg line up better. Actually, if we go to stand up and we really just instead of sitting there with one foot sticking out to the side and have our knees together, we literally just put our heels out the width of the chair, line up our knees so we look down and go, oh, wait, let's make sure we're aiming our middle finger towards our middle toe, lean forward a little bit, keeping our core length the right length, and quickly stand up. Most people can stand up right away and they don't have pain. So that's something you do right away and you can become pain-free almost immediately and feel strong. Alignment always comes before strength, and you don't have to have perfect alignment.
Well, the cool thing, alignment's going to help you avoid painful situations when
Absolutely.
you are doing something active.
Mhm.
Alignment's also going to help you appropriately apply strength. So as you're trying to come out of the chair, now that her feet are square, she has the base of support on the
Right.
ground to actually get out of the chair. But it also helps with balance. So as we get older and people want to change, we start when I'm going to use the word compensation. Uh,
Right.
we start
Adapt.
adapting. We start
Yeah, it's
adapting,
adapted.
but
Right.
we adapt because of fear we're going to fall, and
Correct.
we change our gait, change the way our feet sit on the ground, and those changes now go up our entire kinetic chain and actually are a problem. So taking some time to focus on this alignment from the ground up is going to do a lot for making sure that you maintain strength, maintain balance, and avoid pain.
Right.
So in the book, you had something that I thought this was actually really really good, because most of us will go to a healthcare professional, and the main goal is, oh, my neck hurts, so I'm going to go to a chiropractor, and the goal is for my neck to stop hurting. But you agree we should set goals, but not that kind of goal.
Correct. And that's actually proved by, it's not me. Again, it's the researchers in the science labs have figured out that actually pain is not actually the goal. And I know that seems kind of mean of me to say. And patients are also kind of surprised by it. So I kind of CYA it a little bit by having resources and references. It's not that pain is not important, but it's actually not, it's not measurable. It's measurable in each individual. But here's the thing, you need to actually have a goal that's measurable when relating it to pain. So you're much better doing something that's called, it's, you have to have an activity relating what you're doing when you have pain. So it's actually a activity related pain score. So I've included that in the book, and that again is referenced. It's a researched scale where you actually just say, okay, if I have an activity that I have pain with, then you can actually start seeing if you have improvement. And then you can start developing and adjusting what solutions you're actually attaching to how you're trying to solve your problem. In other words, if you think, well, my friend Susan told me to go to Dr. So and so, the chiropractor, instead of just going every single week, what you should see is if ahead of time you said, well, I'm going to go to Dr. So and the goal is to get rid of my neck pain because I have neck pain every time I sit at the computer within 30 minutes. Well, if it's going to be a successful solution, you should notice that if you've said, my goal is to get rid of my neck pain in 4 weeks, and I'm going to go see this doctor so and so, you should say, well, what's a reasonable time when you see Dr. So and so that I should get rid of my neck pain because I have neck pain within 30 minutes? Well, he should be able to tell you how long it's going to take. And so, first of all, if he can't tell you that, I would question why you're going to that person. But also, that'll tell you A, whether he's the right person, but B, if you're not getting any results, why are you going back to that person? Because either one, you're not actually, maybe you don't have the right diagnosis, or again, maybe that's not the right person. So you
Yeah.
have to know whether you're using the right tool to get better. It's why people don't get better. Either they don't have the right diagnosis or they're not applying the right tool.
Well, the chiropractor is helping you from the perspective of dealing with some misalignment for a moment. If they're focused on your neck, they're going to fix that misalignment. But the next time you sit down at your computer, you're probably going to run into the same problem because you haven't found the root cause.
That's what
And
I'm
so,
saying.
yeah,
So again, do you need to go to the chiropractor? That's actually a question.
yeah,
So
or bring the ergonomic specialist in to say, let's look at my desk, or can I get an adjustable workstation so I can sit part of the time and stand part of the time, and that might be part of the solution to get you in proper alignment.
well, but again, you have to remember, and there's lots of stats on that, and I've included quite a few of those in the book, but also, and a lot of those are available, and I've given references for that. there are a lot of statistics that prove that having the solutions and just changing equipment only takes care of 20% of the problem. Having a person learn how to change themselves takes care of 80% of the problem. So when you're looking at spending your dollars correctly, there's a huge benefit in learning how to take care of yourself. So I think one of the take homes needs to be to understand that you, the individual, are the only thing that you personally own, control, and can adapt. So remember that ergonomics is only a field, it's a field of study and field of engineering for humans that actually develop equipment and supplies for an average size person that is completing a task. So for example, if you're going into a public building, the architects and the designers for those buildings are designing the doors, the desks, or whatever's being used for an average size person. It's called anthropometric measurements. Still in this country, because we have huge variances in people and sizes, those measurements are still only being made for people between 5'5" and 5'8". So again, none of this equipment is alive. So it's not able to say when you sit down at something, it's not alive. It's not going to change. It's still up to the individual user to be able to determine when and how to make changes.
Yeah.
So again, in the book, it talks about how to change that. And again, in the body reset system, it provides you, the participant in that system, some examples on how to, again, change your use of the equipment. And it's kind of the next step of the 3-step method on how you then can reassess yourself and make the changes. But the statistics are quite clear. Again, it's your responsibility to learn how to become confident and competent, that you can look at your own body with your eyes. Your eyes tell your brain, or the brain senses that tell your brain 80% of the information your brain needs to know how to assess the environment about looking down and seeing, oh, is my body in the right position? The other sense it uses is touch and all the little sensors that are embedded in your ligaments and your joints. And finally, you memorize things by how things feel. So it's very cool. And the new part of the information is so cool because it makes the next generation that are under 40 hopefully not have to suffer the need to have all the total joints and all these things that the people now over 40, and particularly the groups that are in the 60s and over, that have had to have total joints. That's where regenerative medicine hopefully won't have to happen anymore. It's so
it's
cool.
kind of staggering how many people are getting hip and knee replacements these days.
Well, I'm hoping it's not going to have to happen on the under 40 group anymore. If we embrace this stuff is going to make it so good for the next generations. If we just understand that we can get control over our bodies, and in this 85 to 95% of the musculoskeletal disorders, and this is a World Health Organization number, they are preventable, they're predictable and preventable. We just literally need to rethink what's happening, understand that if we goal set differently, we recognize what's going on, we then reset our bodies and learn that we need to get ready to use our bodies differently. We need to recover and give time to repair. We can use our bodies optimally for a lot longer than we think we have in the past.
And I like that. And I like that you have kind of this real, true, proactive approach.
It's very exciting.
So one of the other big things in the book that I thought was really, really important was that by empowering yourself to say, okay, I am part of the solution here, you're going to develop a team.
Absolutely.
And so talk a little bit about this solutions team, what we should be looking for, how we should approach developing this team and evaluating this team to see that they're still serving us.
Well, again, I touched on it earlier in the book. And again, the book comes on an electronic version or print, but any way you do it, I would highly suggest that first you really sit down and be very honest in goal setting. And that's also available in the book. And again, e-version or print, but really sit down and get very honest with your goals. And depending on the stage that you are, where you're really ready to make a change, if you're not quite ready to actually figure out goals, still maybe start with a solution team. And what in the stage 1 of solution team, you literally can just sit down and say, I already know what I want to do, but just sit down and write down every single person that you have been using for advice whether it's paid or not. So it can include your best girlfriends or your book club friends
Or
or
your book.
there you go. Anybody, whoever it is, or you've been going to a chiropractor or a naturopath or a card reader, whoever it is. I had a friend today go, I'm really embarrassed to tell you, but I've been calling this guy in West Virginia and I didn't know any of his credentials, but he was sending me some stuff to put on my tongue. I'm like, oh, for God's sake. But at any rate, whoever it is, and the way it's set up is to write down who it is. And this, you're the only one looking at this, but at least it will start telling you who it is, what their credentials are, and meaning credentials, anything you know about them. So you get a reality check on A, do they have credentials, or is this just literally somebody doing snake oil? Are they licensed somewhere? Have they had any validated education of any kind? But most importantly, what kind of results have you had from this person? And then does it match any of your goals at some point? And then the other thing is their redundancy. Sometimes people will just put down this person as, for example, body worker. Well, what is a body worker? Start saying what are they doing? What is a body worker? Start specifying what they are because, again, good for you if you have endless money, but at some point, what else do you want to do with your life? I'll have people come in and say, well, I just want to come in and work out. I say, well, do you love to work out? And they're, well, not really. I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But if you want to do something else, like you want to play with your kids or you want to travel, then if you're having to work out all the time and go to all your appointments all day, what else are you doing with your life for the next 10 years? So it's a way of sort of sorting out what you want to do and then get your goals specified. And then as you sort of work through actually what your goals are, and I have people write down their goals in 3 categories: everyday activities, what do you really want to be doing? And then in that section, they also write down what they're doing now. And it has to be in specific, measurable goals. It can't just be, I want to get rid of pain. Again, we talked on that earlier. But I have them do it in 3 categories: everyday activities, things like driving, putting on my shoes, whatever it might be; in recreation, leisure activities, whether it's you're a high level sports person or whatever it is, leisure activities. What do you want to do? Knit, whatever it is. And thirdly, in work-related activities. And if somebody's retired, I still make them write work activities. If you know anybody that's retired, that the joke is, oh, I do more work now than I ever did before. So I still have them do work-related activities. And then the thing is that I have people then prioritize their goals. And then when they do that, and then they really figure out what's going on, they prioritize the goals. And then when they get those prioritized, then they go back and redo their solutions team. Then they start figuring out what their actual solutions might be and what tools they might use. That way you get started on what do you actually do want to do to get to your goals and put timelines on it. So as you get started and you put timelines, then you can start figuring out and reassessing if your solution team is actually helping you get to your goals so you can get the right team and not get redundancy. There's been a lot of studies about how many people should be on your solution team, and you really want to make sure, per the research, that you keep your solution team down to about 3 people is really what the recommendation is. If you get more than that, you're getting too much, in most cases, too many cooks in the kitchen. So again, you want to prioritize and try to get down to the smallest number of people on the team, and you really want to get people that are really on your team and are really willing to work with each other. My advice to most people is if you get people sort of trash talking others, that's a big, giant red flag. The too good to be true things, again, giant red flag. People that just say, trust me, or I'm sure you can't understand this, again, big red flag. So again,
Yeah.
that's just some
Well, you're on
words.
your solutions team too. So they have to listen to you and be
Exactly.
serving you, giving
Absolutely.
you what you need. And if they're not, then there's someone else out there that is. I
That's
promise.
exactly right. Right.
So, Brenda, I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What
Mhm.
are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Well, again, I think in my view, it's again getting yourself back in the driver's seat and being most honest with yourself and getting out of waiting for everyone else to give you advice. And I think I touched on most of them. And I think and I'm in the musculoskeletal business, I guess, is more what I'm speaking to today. When I started writing this book, I started to go more into whole health. But in my career of over 40 years, I've stayed mostly with musculoskeletal stuff because that's what I do. And in that, I think if you can continue to stay with understanding the body is interacting in all 3 systems, and if you can continue to stay, as I talked about before, is when you are listening to your body and staying current with actual research and staying and understand that nothing is static in the body, it's very dynamic, and understand you've been given a huge gift and of a body and of a brain. And I think understand that the whole body will continue to heal itself and continue to operate if we continue to rethink and stop, rethink, and continue to recognize what we need, and then continue to reset and think of our life in chapters and keep as balanced as we can. And then we will be able to reach our optimal fitness for a lifetime.
Awesome. I like those. Brenda, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, learn more about the book, Aligned for Success, where would you like for me to send them?
My regular website is brendashaeffer.com. If you'd like to go for I have a little free giveaway of the top 10 mistakes that people make that cause pain, and it's at the bodyresetsystem.com. That's another site. And the book can be gotten on Amazon, and it's anywhere at this point. Again, it's electronic version and also print version. I'm always available to chat with anybody when they need to.
And it's not just a book. There's a complete workbook section in the back.
It's definitely a workbook.
This walks you
Absolutely.
through this whole process to get aligned and figure out what you need to do for yourself. So, Brenda, thank you so much for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
And thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
If you're enjoying all the great guests that I bring on the show, the solo episodes, and everything that I'm doing here on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, I really would appreciate your support. You can go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/support and become a patron of the show. Just $1 a show is all I ask. If you're getting value from the show, please show me by becoming a Patreon at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/support. I do appreciate each and every one of you that's become a patron, so please do come on to the Patreon site. You can get there through the podcast website, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/support. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, I discuss 9 ways to improve your sleep. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.